Welcome to Voices Against Violence, a Harmony House podcast to educate, empower, and serve as a voice for survivors. We aim to shed light on crucial issues surrounding domestic violence, offer support, and inspire action for change. Join us as we work together to create a community where all individuals can live a life free of abuse.
This is Kirstyn Walker, Assistant Executive Director at Harmony House.
I'm Charity Jordan Rex, a Prevention Program Manager here at Harmony House. And joining us again is the fabulous Kelsey Daniel, second shift advocate supervisor here at Harmony House. Kelsey, thank you for being here again.
Yes.
I don't know about you, Kirstyn, but I am still reeling from the last conversation. If you're listening and you did not listen to Kelsey's, our previous episode with Kelsey, just stop right now.
Go back. Do not collect $200. Do not pass go. Go back.
It was such a powerful conversation, especially if you're a parent, a caregiver of kids. Please, anyone working with young people should be listening to that. Anyway, so I'm excited for this one. I can't imagine.
Me too.
You got to top yourself, I think, because that conversation was good. But today we are talking about narcissism and how to spot that in a relationship. So before we get too far into this conversation, we want to be really clear. We always want to be precise in our language because there is narcissistic personality disorder. So that is a formal mental health condition that requires a diagnosis by a health professional, and there are signs of that. But basically the difference between the two, having narcissistic traits versus narcissistic personality disorder, is that essentially we all exhibit sometimes some narcissism, where maybe you're a little selfish, maybe you're a little envious, a little shallow, maybe you're not very remorseful. We've all had those moments. So those are narcissistic tendencies or traits. So everybody can have that.
Yes.
But narcissistic personality disorder means you take that really to the extreme. It's prolonged. It shows up in multiple areas of your life and actually impacts your quality of life. So there's a difference there. So we're not talking about narcissistic personality disorder, but those narcissistic traits that people might exhibit that might show up in an unhealthy or abusive relationship. And I feel like this needs another qualifier because we want to be clear that just because someone exhibits maybe some narcissistic traits does not mean they have that disorder. It also doesn't mean that they're an abuser.
Right.
But they are important. That is an important red flag to look out for because it's still, if your partner has those traits, that's still going to be an unhealthy relationship for you.
Absolutely.
And prevention is recognizing that before you get to a dangerous point.
Absolutely.
Yeah, lots of nuance here, but let's dive into what are those traits and behaviors we're talking about today.
Yeah.
I mean, tell us, Kelsey, why, because you said, I really want to talk about this.
Yeah.
Why this topic?
Yeah. So kind of like you said, they're red flags that you need to look out for. And a lot of times when we are assessing people about their situation, they talk about that start of the relationship. So we can make the connection between those certain traits, those red flags. You might have looked a little orange to start out with, So it's important to recognize these unhealthy traits in a person, if you will, at the start, to make that connection about maybe this isn't going to be the healthiest relationship. So there's obviously there's some traits and behaviors in a relationship that are screaming, this is not good, this is not healthy. But there's those subtle ones that I feel like are also really important to pay attention to in a person.
I also want to say just quickly, that I feel like often people kind of associate this with romantic relationships, but you can have someone exhibiting some narcissism, unhealthy, toxic, even abusive behavior, power and control. It's always rooted in power and control. That dynamic can exist in any relationship. So it can exist between family members, between people in the workplace, between friends.
Yes.
So, really think broadly here, because that power and control dynamic can rear its ugly head in more than just romantic relationships. And it's important. I feel like it's important for us to be aware that in any relationship, even if it's a friendship, you deserve healthy friendships too, so let's.
Yeah. So one of the first traits that I've kind of studied on is that inflated sense of importance. There's nothing wrong with having, with loving yourself and having that confidence, but there is a line between having confidence and almost like a fantasy-like sense of self-importance. It's putting yourself at the top of the top. Nobody else is welcome here. Nobody else is as good as me. And not only putting yourself at the top, but putting everything else at the bottom. If people try to have conversations about, what they enjoy or what they like, not only is it not important to them, it's not as good as, what they got going on, but they'll make an effort to minimize that as well. So they've got that inflated sense of importance. You see a lot of entitlement. I think it's very important. I try to do this myself and encourage everybody else to do it too. If you're going on a date or you're with a friend or a family member going out to eat or whatever, pay attention to the way that person is treating that cashier. Treating
Yes. I was doing a training with some teenagers, and we were talking about teen dating violence, and someone asked me, well, we went through the 10 major red flags, but they're like, what are some of the other red flags that maybe you might not notice? And I was like, how they pay attention, how they treat people around them. How do they treat the server at the restaurant? How do they treat the custodian at school? Or, how do they treat those people that maybe are in roles that they might think are lower than them? How do they treat those people? Because that's a huge clue into that person's.
Yeah. And I, starting at at a restaurant, for example, I've been in these situations before. First of all, it's extremely uncomfortable for whoever they're with. They don't care if they are in public. And it can be extreme and it can be subtle. So to give an extreme example, you can be out at a restaurant and maybe they get the food order wrong or they're taking too long. That person can straight up tell the waiter or waitress, this is ridiculous. Just give us our bill. Complete disrespect and no empathy towards the fact maybe they have more tables than normal. It's busy, whatever the reason is, just completely and utterly disrespectful, out loud, not caring about how that makes that person feel. But it can also be in more subtle. Maybe the waitress comes, gives you your bill or sets your food down and they walk away and that person scoffs. They're so dumb. They're so slow. This is freaking ridiculous. They may, cuss or call them names. That's still disrespectful. And, you'll find that they have a very, very low tolerance to inconveniences, which kind of pairs with that. So just paying attention to, you may see in the way that they drive, road rage is very common. Stopping at a red light and maybe people aren't going fast enough when it turns green, or people aren't turning their signal on quick enough, whatever it is. So a cashier is taking too long, whatever it is. If they are inconvenienced in any way, pay attention to the reaction of that.
Whew, okay. This is hitting a little close to home because my ex was that person. Yes. And when I say he had road rage, he would literally follow people for miles.
Yes.
Till they got to wherever he stopped and he would get out of the car and I'd be like,
scaring your partner with
that
is an abusive behavior.
Also, we're the Ozarks, so the odds of them carrying you don't know what someone's gonna do.
They're not shy to conflict, whether it's
and there'd be nothing that I could do. I'd be like, it's okay, let's go. There'd be nothing once it was in that mode.
One of my ex-partners, we were at a restaurant eating and the waiter had taken too long to bring him something that he had ordered. And what's it's not funny, but you'll notice the common behavior. Like you almost have a look to them that they'll give you when they're about to start in with their nonsense, right? So they're taking too long to bring out the food. He looks over at me and he goes, "This is ridiculous." And he looks at me. And another, aspect, which we'll get into later, is that control. He looks at me and he goes, "This is ridiculous," and starts out loud speaking, no matter who could hear, about how ridiculous it was. He wasn't getting us food fast enough. And he looks at me and says, "If you tip her, I will leave you at this restaurant."
Wow.
If you tip her. And I kind of, look down at my food and kind of just rub it off the shoulders. It's normal behavior for him. And he goes, "No, look at me. If you tip this ridiculous waiter, I will leave you here." So enraged, not only at the waiter, but at me, who had nothing to do with it.
Wow.
Which is another common thing, how often the survivor gets kind of tied in with every inconvenience in their life.
And controlling how you're spending your money.
Yes, and I was the one paying for it. And what was crazy is when she comes and sets the bill down, he rips it out of my hand and writes big fat zeros across it. So you're not even paying for it, but you are so enraged right now over that. You're putting it out on me, on the waiter. So it's just small things like that that people don't think about. It's just all about the control as well.
Well, and you mentioned the entitlement and the inflated sense of self. And when we're talking about abusive relationships, we're talking about power and control. I can imagine that somebody would use that inflated sense of self to justify the power and control, because who should question them?
Yes, absolutely. All the time, that they just think that the world revolves around them, and everything that everybody does, it doesn't matter what your role is, it all revolves around them. And something just came to my mind that I also want to bring up earlier. We were talking about how they treat, cashiers and waiters and such. It's also the change up, because you'll notice that people, they may be very disrespectful and rude and entitled around people who have maybe lower roles, if you will, treat everyone with respect, but lower class roles, whatever. But when they get around the CEO, when they get around the big dogs, if you will, they are charming, they are bright, they're funny, they're very nice to you, or they may even put you down a little bit. The smaller they can make you feel, the bigger they're going to feel about themselves. And that's their ultimate goal, that inflated sense of importance.
This conversation just makes me feel so icky. I think it's bringing up some memories for me, but that's okay.
Yeah.
A lot of us working in DV, we have lived experience. So it is what it is. What in your opinion, Kelsey, where is the line between someone might say, "Oh, he's just a jerk," and something more than that? Like where do you see that line?
So there's a couple aspects that come to mind when I think of that. Like I said earlier, even if you think that this person is just a jerk, I want to preface this by saying that if it doesn't feel good to you, whether it's a narcissism trait or not, you need to pay attention to that. The line is where you stop feeling good about it. The line is where you stop feeling good.
Oh my God.
Write that down. The line is where we stop feeling good.
The line is where you stop feeling good about it.
Yes. Working in DV, it is so hard to nail on the head, this is where it falls over the lines. And I've just repeated that to so many survivors, is that everyone's experience is so unique. Everyone is so unique as to what bothers them and what doesn't. But draw the line at where you stop feeling heard. You don't feel safe. You feel unappreciated. You get that gut feeling that something isn't right. Again, whether it's something that is diagnosed or you can Google these traits, that does matter. But what matters more is how you are feeling on the inside. But the other perspective of, to answer your question is I would pay attention to if it's a pattern. We all have bad days. We all have our moments where we have, not acted the best.
Yeah, we've all been there.
Yes, absolutely. But it's very important to pay attention. Is this a pattern? And could this lead, as I said earlier, I think that narcissism traits are important to pay attention to, because it could be an orange flag that is really red and it's just starting to peak out. So paying attention to this is what it is now, but looking in the future, what is this going to lead up to? I saw a quote one time that I love, and you can ask yourself the question, is this the way I want to be loved the rest of my life? If this person were to not change tomorrow and someone said, this is the way they are for the rest of your life, would you accept that? So if you're questioning whether you should leave, whether this is unhealthy or not, whether it's for you, ask yourself that question. If this person was never going to change, do you want to be loved? And
Is this how I want to be loved for the rest of my life?
Wow.
I mean, like that comment, that's so heavy. I think we're all just kind of sitting and processing that. Like,
we see the potential in people, and as much as we want to believe in that, it's so important to whatever situation you see yourself in, even if it's in the workplace or with friendships. Is this something that if I were to have in my life, the rest of my life, would I want to be treated this way?
Nothing changes.
Nothing changes. And if the answer to that is no, get out of it.
Yeah. Well, and you brought up a good point. We see the best in people. And if we've been love bombed in the beginning, we're thinking that person's still in there. They're going to come back out.
Yeah. And that's that's the hook of it all. And that's, again, where you see the cycle of abuse after there's an argument. And it doesn't have to be a full-blown argument. I want to preface that. It can be just, subtle ways of not treating you right, and you're feeling like this doesn't feel very good. Once they pick up on that cue that you might distance yourself, the love bombing starts again. It's a cycle. It is a cycle.
I can relate to that because I had a relationship like that. It was very volatile.
Yes.
And when it was bad, it was really bad.
Yes.
But when it was good,
Good.
whew,
It's an emotional
and like you
high.
just live for those, like, oh, but that when it's good, it's so good.
Right.
Like, how do you, and we touched on this in your previous episode, Kelsey, if you grew up around these kind of volatile, abusive relationships, that becomes normal. And it may not even, it's not that you don't recognize that like this isn't how you should treat someone necessarily, but it's familiar, and there is some comfort in knowing, like, well, this isn't great, but I'm used to this. I know what to do with this. So if that is your experience, how do you begin to, I guess, take those steps to be like, okay, I don't want this, or,
So I feel like there's a couple different aspects to that. So our brains like to run off of reward systems, right? So when we grow up and we're going through trauma, emotionally, it can be like a roller coaster. And we find that a lot of people that experience childhood traumas are like people pleasers, which is one thing that keeps us stuck in these unhealthy relationships. Because when you're having those good times, man, it's like hitting the jackpot. You are an emotional high. Whenever they're treating you good, oh, I am loved. Maybe I'm not annoying. Maybe I'm not these things. You're at an emotional high. And scientifically, your brain is literally, it's like getting that boost of dopamine, right?
Yeah.
Jackpot. So it's about, first of all, getting education on why your brain is craving that and understanding that you're not crazy, you're not sensitive, there's nothing wrong with you. It's, again, what happened to you, and understanding what your brain is needing from you. I also like to do a lot of, some people don't like this term. I think it's very important, inner child work. Our inner child still lives in each and every one of us, and it's paying attention to, it's the inner child in you is craving what you didn't get in your childhood. And that narcissist person or person displaying narcissism traits,
I'm giving some snaps,
is feeding that inner child. So I used to tell myself when I was in my abusive relationship, my inner child is craving what I didn't get as a child, but the woman in me wants something else. So it's finding the happy medium. It's doing that inner child work and filling those voids with other things. And going back to the reward system, what can I do? Who can I surround myself with that still makes me feel that love and that worthiness? How can I find that within myself instead of expecting it from that person who doesn't treat me the best?
I think that's a really good point. It's not that you are going without, but you're taking that that source of toxic and unhealthy love, if you will, and replacing that with people who are healthy relationships for you, who are really going to support you and love on you. And those are going to be healthy relationships. So
I'm so excited we're having this conversation now too, because I feel like as we're sitting here recording this, we're looking back on all of these examples of behaviors. And we're going, yep, check mark, like, yep, I experienced that. And so looking back, it's easy to recognize. I'm so glad we're having the conversation now and we can be considering these things before we begin a relationship or before we're in the, the friendship, whatever it might be, as those, like you said, red flags.
Right. Please don't wait until they're screaming in your face. Again, we need to bring back not settling for bare minimum respectful behaviors, kind of behaviors. We're so focused and zoomed in on, diagnoses of narcissistic personality disorder or narcissism traits or whatever it is. We get so zoomed in on that. And it's like they're either a really, really bad person or they're really, really good. So don't wait until they're screaming in your face. Again, draw the line at where you're not feeling good about it. Listen to your intuition.
What would you say to the person? Because I feel like I can hear someone out there being like, well, he's not treating me like that. I mean, yeah, he yelled at that server, but he hasn't talked to me like that.
They will. My biggest piece of advice is they will. Again, in the early stages of a relationship, they might not. But it's very important to take note of the little times that they do and assume that if they're talking to everyone else like that, that your time will come too when that mask falls off. It's all a mask is what it is. It is all a mask that falls off. It is a wolf in sheep's clothing, as I like to say, and their true colors do show. So pay attention to those small things. Plus, even if they're not directly doing it towards you, I don't think I would want to be with someone that was also disrespectful towards other people as well. So that in its own self is important to pay attention to.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. I always think, like, if they're willing to cause that scene in public, then really anything goes with them. Like, what else are they willing to do? And
really, they are harming you because, again, it's extremely uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And you should not be putting your partner in that position to awkwardly sit there. Yeah. It's embarrassing. And then, goodness forbid, you bring it up to them like, hey, that made me feel really uncomfortable, which is another trait. They may not have empathy towards how it makes you feel. They may have little to no empathy or even performative empathy, which is very common in the early stages of a unhealthy relationship. Oh, I'm so sorry that you went through that or whatnot, but it's performative. So paying attention to those small things.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Man,
between this podcast and the last episode, Kelsey. So much wisdom. Kelsey's just.
When is your book coming out, Kelsey?
That's a good idea. I might put that on my to-do list.
I mean, these episodes will be on repeat for me personally because you dropped so many truth bombs, so many nuggets of wisdoms. I don't even know what to say. Kirstyn.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
That's the only, thank you for the wisdom that you have brought to the podcast today. Thank you for the work that you do as an advocate. Yes. I mean, really just could not function. This building could not function. This work could not function without the work that you do. So thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you guys for having, platforms like this. I, again, think it's so important to not even have that, basic level of education of what domestic violence is, but get into conversations like this about early stages and really under the surface level topics that are the foundation of it all that people often don't get educated about. So
this was real talk. So thank you for sharing.
This was real talk with Kelsey.
All individuals have a right to a life free of abuse. If you or someone you know needs help, please call our 24-hour hotline, 417-864-SAFE, 417-864-7233, or chat 24/7 with an advocate on our website at myharmonyhouse.org. Visit our website or follow us on our socials to stay up on the latest news and events. This is Voices Against Violence. Thanks for listening.